Hello, welcome to today's little video, kind of going over this review of writing equations, solving equations in inequalities, and graphs. And so already on your paper you should have some of these worked out, like number one, this is a linear situation where we're subtracting 100 gallons each hour, and so you get an answer like that. 8 is an example of percent change, exponential, so it was increasing by 27%. So I put my numbers in my formula here. Remember, 27% needs to convert to a decimal, and so you just divide by 100. 27 divided by 100 is 0.27. So that's how I knew what to put in there. And we got solving inequalities, which is just like solving equations, except if you ever divide by a negative, which is what happened here, you got to flip the inequality around. So that's why the inequality goes the other way. On 15, I just want to show you another example of multi-step equations. If it's got parentheses, you gotta distribute, and then you want to combine like terms, and you want to get your variables together. There were variables on both sides, so we can get them together. Then you want to get all your numbers on the other side, and that one comes out to be 0. And then we got graphing ones. 24, this was in standard form, so you gotta subtract the x over, divide by what's in front of y, and get your equation to graph. And then down here I showed an example where you identify your y-intercept, which comes out to be -2, and figure out another point and figure out how to go from there to there. It went down 1 and right 4. So that's why the slope's -1/4. And so we're just going to do another few of these so you can get a little bit more practice with it, so you can see these things again. And so we're going to jump down to 5. So this one, there's close to 3 million people living in Utah. The entire state became exposed to a deadly strain of chickenpox and reduced the population by 4/7 each day. So before you dive in and write your equation, you should figure out what kind it is. Since we're losing a portion each day, that makes this exponential. Okay, so I'm going to write out an exponential equation. Y equals a times b to the x power. This first number is what you start with. This is what portion you have left. So you want survivors in your equation. So the a value here is pretty easy. It's just 3 million. You just put 3 million, or you can write all the zeros if you want. And then our b value is what portion is still there. So if we lose 4/7 of all the people each day, that's a lot of people, what portion is still left? That is 3/7. So you put 3/7 in your equation there. And remember, it has x as your exponent. And voila, we got an exponential equation modeling this situation. Okay, and so hopefully with these 3 examples, you can work through the rest of them. Ask neighbors if you get stuck. So let's jump to our next section here. And we've already looked at a couple of solving ones. You got this example with an inequality. You got this example with variables on both sides and parentheses. I want to do one that's down here where it's solved for a variable. So let's look at 18. You need to solve for a, and that means you need to get a all by itself, meaning you need to get rid of this -9, and you need to get rid of this. Both of these need to be gone in order for a to be solved for. So let's take it one step at a time. We need to get rid of the -9 and get rid of the subtract 4b. The 4b, if you're thinking about order of operations, happens after timesing by -9, and so we're going to get rid of it first. You get rid of the last thing first. Think about what's the opposite of subtract 4b. Hopefully you said plus 4b or positive 4b, so we're going to add 4b to both sides. On the right side, those are gone. We got -9a, not x. Over here, g plus 4b. Well, if you don't know what g is and you don't know what b is, you can't combine them. And so it just stays as g plus 4b. We don't know what the numbers these g's and b's are, and so they stay separate. Now we need to get rid of this -9 hanging out in front. How do you do that? Hopefully you thought of divide by it. And that's all you have to do. Anytime you got a number in front of a variable, you want it to go away, you divide by it. And now we need to look on the left side and try to simplify. Well, we don't know what g is, and we don't know what b is, so we can't do g plus 4b. And since we don't know what those are, we can't divide by -9. And so it's the same thing. You just have g plus 4b divided by -9, and the problem is over. You got a all by itself, everything else on the other side, and now we've solved for a. Nice. So we looked at some writing equations, we looked at some solving equations and inequalities. Now we're focusing on graphing. We're going to do a couple on graphing so you can have a little bit of extra practice with it, because that was a little bit more recent. We'll get a little bit less practice. So on 20 here, we get a very strange equation and graph. Normally we're looking at y equals mx plus b, but we don't have y. We just got this x equals -1. So you have to think about what that means and then plot the points that make that. So this tells us that all of the x values are -1. So here's where x is -1, so I can put a point there. And what other points have an x value of -1? Well, you got a point here too. This is the point -1, 3. This is the point -1, 0. And we can even come down here. You got this point. This is the point -1, -5. All of these points have the same x value of -1, just like this says. And so we can now connect it and realize our graph is just a vertical line where x is -1. If you had to do something like y equals 4, remember this one is perpendicular to this one. It's going to be a horizontal line. It would just be up here at a y value of x equals 4. So that's a quick thing to remember. If it's y equals, it's horizontal. If it's x equals, it's a vertical line, because all of them have to have the same x values, or all of them have to have the same y values, which make them go vertical or horizontal. Let's jump to one that has some y equals mx plus b on it. Let's look at 21. Remember, y equals mx plus b. This number is our m. This number is our b. And so we can graph this equation. Remember, when you're graphing, the b value is the first one you graph, and that's your y-intercept. So I'm going to go to my y-axis and find -4. It's all the way down here, so I put a dot. And now I need to look at my slope. My slope is -1/2. You need to remember that the top number tells you how much your rise is, and the bottom number tells you how much your run is, or how much you go horizontal. So this top number is telling us to go down 1, and the bottom number is telling us to go right 2. So from my y-intercept, I'm going to go down 1, and right 2, and put a dot there. And I can go down 1, right 2 again to get another point. You can go the other way. You can go up and left. So you can go up 1, left 2, up 1, left 2, and up 1, left 2. And now we got all these points, and we can connect them up to make our line. That kind of curved there. Straighten it out. All right, so we have graphed that line. So now we've seen a few of them. Let's jump to one that's a little bit trickier, like 25. This one is in standard form, not slope-intercept form. We still need to get y all by itself. We want it to be y equals mx plus b, so we can graph it. And so we need to get this on the other side. We need to get this on the other side, so y can be by itself. Well, how do you get rid of a 9x? Positive 9x. You got to subtract it. So subtract some 9x, subtract some 9x. I'm not going to write out what that equation looks like over here. There's still a 2y on the left side. Those are gone. We still got 2y. And on the right side, 8 minus 9x. Well, the 8 doesn't have an x, and so these need to stay separate. And so we got -8 minus 9x. Nice. So now we need to get rid of the 2. How do you get rid of the number in front of the variable? Hopefully you said divide. You just divide by what's ever in front of your variable, and it goes away. We do have to divide both of them by the 2. -8 divided by 2 is -4. And -9 divided by 2 does not go evenly. You get -4.5, which is not that great for graphing. And so we're just going to leave it as -9/2, or -9/2, which is another way to say it. So now we've got our equation. You have to look at what is your y-intercept and what is your slope, and graph your y-intercept and use your slope to get another point. Pause the video, see if you can get this graphed, and we'll have you check it in a moment. Okay, let's look at your graph. You should have put a point down here at -4. And our slope of -9/2 would be down 9 and right 2, but you kind of fall off the graph. And so instead of going down 9 and right 2, we're going to go up 9 and left 2 to get a point here. Okay, and so I'm going to go up 9, left 2, and I got a point. And those are all the points that fit on this coordinate grid here. And I need something straight to help me draw this out. But there you go. Only got 2 points, and that's all you really need to graph a line. We do tend to graph more just to make it so our line, stay straight as we graph it. But there you go. Some extra examples for you. These ones should be pretty quick. You read it, write down your slope and your y-intercept and your slope, and you got your equation. So there you go. A quick review of a whole bunch of writing equations, solving equations, and graphing. Good luck on the rest.